Hey everyone, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while guffawing, sweating, and every once in a while, clutching our pearls. We've got some brand new patrons to shout out this week. I'm sending a big, warm welcome to Monica P., Emily P., Allison B., Siobhan, and Carolyn. And we've got some longer-term patrons who absolutely need some love. So, big virtual hugs to Jessica N., Maureen R., Abby T., Meredith, Tiffany R., Kim D.V., Nora W., Lucy, and Julia D.K. Y'all make the show possible. This week, we're recapping a book that I have heard about for years. We had a feeling we'd become obsessed, so Sabrina and I built in time to read the next two books in the Game Maker series for Patreon. Today, you're getting The Professional. Then this week, patrons can look forward to our recap of Book 2, The Master. And next week, we'll recap The Player. We meant to make the Patreon recap both books in one episode, but it turns out we had so much to squee over in The Master that one ended up being its own episode. So The Player obviously will get its own as well. Sabrina and I, just FYI, loved The Player. So, without further ado, here's our recap of Book 1 in the Game Maker series, The Professional by Kresley Cole. Enjoy!
I couldn't remember what came after 3 for a second. I was like, you're like 3, and I was like, fuck.
Oh no. Here we go.
I can count. I have a math degree.
Yeah. Okay, so Sabrina, we do have a little business to get to before we get into the business we're going to get to. Okay, because listener just needs to know that we've got some special events coming up. Mm-hmm. Next week, when this comes out, the next week after is our Podiversary episode, which I'm super stoked about. And then after that is our 300th episode, which is going to be a special event. There is a secret book that we're doing. It's not that secret. All the patrons know. It's fine. Anyway, big things are coming in the next couple of weeks.
Big things, Melody.
So,
what?
Stay tuned, listener. Oh, shit. Okay, but now I need you to tell me about your dreams. Is that a private thing I shouldn't have said out loud on the podcast?
Okay, so listener, for you to understand, God, I don't even remember what I said to you exactly.
All you said was reading The Professional before bed last night led to some very good dreams.
Yeah. Okay. So they're not what you're thinking of.
Oh,
it's
come on.
Not a kinky sex wet dream.
You didn't wake up humping the
No.
pillow like she does in the plane?
So I dreamed basically, which to be clear, okay, so just to give listeners some context, I'm not somebody who remembers my dreams. And then recently I started ADHD medicine for the first time in my life. And I am now a person who remembers my dreams almost every morning.
Wild.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what to do about it. Like, to the point where, like, sometimes I'm like, did that actually happen?
They're vivid, right?
Yeah. It's real weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in this dream, oh my God, we're really getting into like my actual secret fantasies, which are not nearly as like wild and horny as you probably think they are, considering I talk a big fucking game. So why is this more embarrassing than if I'd been like, oh yeah, I got like tied up and plugged in all my holes? I would have no problem saying that out loud. So in this dream, I end up in so it's this house, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm taken there for my safety by this tall, dark, and handsome, right?
Oh, your
And
safety.
I was so worried about my dogs, and he was like, "We'll bring them with us." And so
Okay,
we end up on
hot.
this property, and I can see through the windows that there's like guard dogs just meandering all over the place. And like,
Yeah.
I was so worried about my dogs because there wasn't a fenced in yard, and I thought that they were gonna like run away when I opened the door, but they had to go potty, and I hate walking my dogs, and so I
Yeah.
refuse to walk them. I have a
Yeah.
yard. That's the
Yep.
first thing I do at any place that I move into. So I like, he is like reassuring me and like holding me from behind while I'm like looking out the thing, like freaking out.
Wow.
And then he's like, "It'll be okay. They'll come back to you." And he's like whispering in my ear and like kissing my neck.
Mhm.
And so I finally like bit the bullet and I open the door and the dogs go out and they get along with the guard dogs just fine, which makes absolutely
Yeah.
no fucking sense. But they just like are having their best time and living their best lives. And then we go back into the house and now the dogs are no longer an important part of the dream. And I don't
No, the
remember them
dogs are gone
showing up
now.
ever again. And he's giving me a tour of the house. And
Okay.
like he puts me in what is not, this is super weird. He puts me in what is not the master bedroom. Actually, it's
Sure.
not weird because this is my fantasy. And so I'm in the smallest bedroom in the
Yeah.
house that he puts me in,
Okay.
but it still has an amazing bathroom and an amazing closet.
Of course it does.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and because I've always wanted a bathtub big enough, I'm 5'10", so like I've always wanted
Yeah.
a bathtub big enough that I could like lay down in it and like
Mhm.
I don't have to choose between my tits and my knees being in the
Yes.
water, right? Without doing some
Mhm.
like weird, crazy fucking like leg origami noodle
Yeah.
work to get everything underwater.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like showing me around and then he keeps taking me on this tour and we walk into the master bedroom and I was like, "Oh, this is gorgeous. Why didn't you put me in here?" And he's like, "Well, when I looked inside of your house, you had chosen the smallest room, and I assumed it's because it makes you feel comfortable and safe." And I was
Oh.
like, "Fuck." And he was like, and then he said, and then he goes, "I also figured that you would want this room for your crafts." And he was like, and he's like, I was like, "Oh, you're right. This is big enough for my crafts in my office." And he goes, "No, your office is the other room." And then he opens, and he opens a door off the hallway into what is in fact another room with my office stuff already set. And then
This
I
is
was
the
like,
sexiest.
and then I like get really emotional. And so he like takes my hand and like pulls me into his arms and he's like rubbing his hands up and down my back while
Yeah,
I'm just like laying on my head on his shoulder. And he's like, "I just want to take care of you." And I was like,
I have a question for you, though. Did he say it'll be okay, or did he say it'll be okay?
I have no idea because I don't know.
You
But
don't
yeah.
remember his accent? Because the
I can't
accent was
believe you
very
fucking-
important to me in this book.
How did I not guess that you were
It'll
gonna
be
bring that
okay.
up for banter? Like, I cannot believe because like you didn't respond. Like I didn't
I
think
didn't
twice.
see it.
Well, yeah, because like
time.
well, to be clear, I typed it out at like 6:45 in the morning, and then you had messaged me that day, and it was like 9 when I finally got around to responding, and I opened it and realized I had never sent it. And usually, what I would do if that happened is I would just delete it and move on. But I was like, no, Melody has to know about this. But then you just never
You're
talked
right.
about it. You just like exclamation point reacted to it.
Yes.
And it never came up again, and I just forgot
Yeah.
about it. And then all of a sudden,
Right.
just now, you're like, "So tell me about your dreams."
I need to know.
But yeah, I think it's very telling that it was not, in fact, like this is a BDSM erotica novel.
Yeah.
And it's telling that the dreams it inspired was, in fact, not at all that. And
It was
instead,
all
it
just
was
about
like,
somebody taking care of you. That's so
like-
good.
like anticipating my needs.
Mm-hmm.
and like my wants and just
That's
knowing
what a
me
good
well
dom
enough.
does.
Like,
I've heard. Okay, listen.
to be
We're
clear,
here.
that dom also has to be tax deductible. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
the dom needs a tax deductible ass.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
like it's all one package. We know.
Yeah.
We know. We're just
Mhm.
listen, we're dream boarding and we'll figure it out. Whoever that
Can you
person ends up
imagine?
being.
Can you imagine the banter that's gonna happen when I fucking roll in one day and I'm like, you're gonna never guess who I'm talking to right now, and you're gonna be like, oh, who? And I'm gonna be like, they're a dom. They have a sexy accent. They have a tax deductible ass.
Yeah.
They let me lay on them naked.
That's
and
right.
Watch TV,
whatever
like,
I want.
and that person, whoever they are, they're gonna be
Yep.
like, you have such a hyper specific.
Yeah. Listen, listener, you want to come at Sabrina with a house where the biggest room is a craft room? You let a bitch know. Okay.
Anyway,
We're here to talk about The Professional by Kresley Cole, which has been on my TBR for literal years. And
it has not been on mine.
I know that I have to at least read the master now. I don't know if I'm going to end up reading the player, but I bet we're going to find out things about Dimitri that will make me want to read the player. Listen, I don't know.
Well, guess what, Melody? Even if you don't read the player, we are going to be doing the 2 books on Patreon. If you decide you don't give a shit about Dimitri, that's fine. I will be reading Dimitri's because in the epilogue, I was like, oh, I think I love this man already.
No, that's Maximilian.
No, the wedding invitation at the end of this book. I have not read the second book. The wedding invitation in the epilogue. Did you read the epilogue? Did you look at this?
Is it on audio? I read it in audio.
Oh.
Which I also have a really big fucking bone to pick with this whole thing because, listen, this started out as like released in 3 parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the ebook since then has been released as a singular ebook. Please just mash those audiobooks together. Don't make
Shut
me
up.
do
You did not have
3
to down
audiobooks. 3
That's
4-hour audiobooks. It's such bullshit. Just mash them together. Do a mash on them. Anyway, so
That's
no,
not that hard.
apparently I missed out on an epilogue that is really important.
Well, I'll tell you about it. It's
Okay.
very short.
All right, cool.
And there are no children involved, which is my favorite.
Perfect. Absolutely. Okay, so we meet Natalie, or Natalia. She is a PhD student in Lincoln, Nebraska. She thinks that she's got a mano reader all up in her brain parts.
She's a regular manalist.
That's the manalist. That's what it is.
Because her secret is that she always goes negative, and the guys, well, they always accommodate. And you know
That's
what?
Right.
As a regular lie detector, I detect none.
Yeah. So she's at the bar with a bunch of her friends, and she sees this dude who she cannot read. He's tall, and he's buff, and he's
dark,
leather jacketed.
He's handsome.
That's
and
the one.
He's got these piercing eyes.
Oh yeah, they're gold ones.
Yeah, and by the way, we've also at this point learned that she's a virgin.
She is a virgin.
Is very important because
yeah.
Until she finally loses it, my God, nobody will shut the fuck up about it.
Nope, everybody wants to talk about how there's never been a penis in her vagina. Like, she's basically done everything else, you know, but she's never actually had a penis put in there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, big ol' virgin. Everybody makes fun of, oh, trigger warning for the grossest phrase that anybody has ever said in their whole life. It's in this book.
I wonder
Are you
if
ready?
I have this highlighted.
Is it the fact that her friend Jess will only refer to her virginity as having her skin tag?
Yeah.
Oh!
Get rid of that skin tag, Natalie. Get rid of that skin tag. You still got your skin tag? You did what? And you still have your skin tag?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Jess.
It made me really happy, but it also like grossed me out to my core. I don't know. Am I getting more like prudish I don't know. I don't know what's happened to me, but like that
Well, don't
scandalized
worry,
me.
Melody. You better be careful, you picky prude, or else you'll take your hymen to your grave.
Oh,
There
yeah.
are, like, Jess does
Yeah.
have some lines in here that I highlighted, and I'm like,
Jess is
I
great.
really love this.
Yeah.
Also, I
Jess is
did make
great.
a note on that comment, though, and I was like, well, I guess she's a virgin. I wonder if she'll be magically good at oral. But
She is magically good at oral.
it was made clear, though, that she's not a blushing virgin. Like, she's done oral before. So
Yeah.
Although, okay, hang on. So this is like jumping into things. She's gone
please.
down. Nobody's ever gone down on her. The first one to go down on her is her Russian. And I was like, ma'am, you need to demand some more. Like, like, if you don't like oral, if you don't like somebody going down on you, totally fine. Yeah. She does, though. Like,
loves it. It's a fucking revelation when it finally happens to her. And like, you're with partners who don't kick them the fuck out.
Yeah, and I don't expect you to go down on me just because I went down on you. It's not like in a session, it's not a reciprocal thing. But also, like, if I'm willing, yeah, excuse you.
No, absolutely. Okay, so anyway, she goes up, and because he's this unicorn that she can't read, her friends are like, well, go find out. You got to go, get some data. So she's like, oh my God, should I go talk to him? And they're like, yeah, definitely. So she straightens her little skirt, and then she goes up to him, talks to him, and she gets completely rebuffed to the point that he calls her little girl. Which, like,
oh my God,
how
Melody,
dare you?
I'm not going to be able to handle it if you read all of his quotes and all of the things that he says out loud in a Russian accent, Melody. I can't handle that. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Are you blushing? What if I said greedy girl? Oh my greedy girl. She left. She's gone. She's shuffling away.
You're so cruel. You cannot keep doing that.
I won't. I'll stop right now until I surprise you.
I'm not God, yeah, I'm gonna fucking, like, you're gonna do it and I'm gonna be like, like, you remember that time you literally dropped to the floor while we were recording?
Yeah, when we were recording Dark Lover, I did. I dropped to the floor.
But it wasn't because of this reason. Mine's gonna be because I'm literally melting. I love it. I'm a slut for an accent, listener. Like, whew.
I know. So anyway, she's like, she takes it like a champ.
Yes.
And she goes home to do a big old bathtub masturbate.
Hang on.
What? Tell me everything. Tell me.
Before the big bathtub masturbate, I have another Jess quote.
Yeah, oh God. Oh my God.
So she just points at her bits, her nethers, and says, I can't help it that this is the Bermuda Triangle. She pointed at her crotch. When guys venture there, they tend to stay. I tapped my chin. Oh, I thought you called it that because it sucked in lots of semen.
She's like, that's accurate.
When I tell you, and by the way, this is like page 5. I've already laughed multiple times at Jess. Although, like, there were times where I was like, Jess, I'm gonna need you to fucking take
You gotta take it down. Just a couple of notches, Jess. Take it down.
And then there were other times where I was like, yeah, listen to your best friend, your fucking ding-dong, Natalie.
Yes. Also, I will say one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is hearing a person who has told us they have a vulva and a vagina make a threat that, like, if somebody does me wrong, she'll skull fuck them.
I did enjoy that. By the way, one more question. At one point she says, for once my bra wasn't a minimizer?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that a sports bra?
How do you have tits that are that big and you don't know what a minimizing bra
that's
is?
what I'm asking. I have huge fucking tits. What is a minimizer?
Yeah, it's sort of like a sports bra, but it is shaped like a regular bra. Does that make sense? Like it sucks you in and it keeps you back.
No. That's a thing?
Yeah.
How have I not ever had one of these?
I don't know. I don't think you need one, really.
Why?
For the world.
For me?
Yeah, for you maybe.
I need one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
These tits are not always for the world. To be clear, they are sometimes for the world. Occasionally,
Totally.
these tits are for the world.
Also, this heroine always says, "This is the tits," just like I
loved
do.
that. It was very cute.
Woo!
I did like
Anyway,
that.
I'll send you some links after.
Yeah, very,
and maybe I'll ask
curious.
my friend Tanya. She knows a thing or two about a minimizer bra. All right. So here's the thing. Here's the
masturbate.
deal. Here's the whole thing. Yeah, she's doing a big old bathtub masturbate. Actually, my my note is, because I misspelled it and then I left it because it was hilarious to me. Goes home to do a bath rub.
That is what I'm calling a bathtub masturbate for the rest of my life.
So anyway, she's like, "Oh, I'm about to come," but I look through the mist, which, like, I take the hottest baths I think a human can possibly take, and I've never, like, misted a room like a sauna, okay? But anyway, this is misted like a sauna.
I don't even take them that hot, and
Interesting.
I do, yeah.
Huh. So she looks through the mist, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm hallucinating him."
Almost to orgasm.
Yeah, she's just about to come, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's right there. Oh wow, look at his imaginary face." Except it's actually him. He's there, and he's there to get her and take her somewhere. He says, "Cover yourself. We need to talk," or something like that. And so she doesn't even finish. She doesn't finish, everyone. Oh my God, terrible.
He's basically like, "Okay, hey, you need to come with me. You have 5 minutes to get packed and dressed, and we're leaving. I'm walking out of this house in 5 minutes. Either you're packed and dressed, or I'm taking you over my shoulder and carrying you out to the car."
Yeah.
Those are your options.
And the reason this is happening is because she's adopted and she's been looking for her birth parents for like the past 6 years or something like that. She knew that she was adopted out of a Russian orphanage, and she's had private investigators over there trying to find who her birth parents are, and she found them. But she doesn't know that she found them because the private eye did get smoked after being an idiot around the Russian mob, because her dad is a quadrillionaire Russian mobster.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
He's a vor? Is that what
He's a vor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's there to get her and
started,
take her to Russia.
I'm so sorry. This is very important.
No, I hear you.
She's putting up a fuss, and she's like, "I don't know you. Why am I going with you?" And he goes, "You must trust me, pet." And I was like,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He calls her
Fuck!
Pet.
That can't be her nickname. And then it was, to be clear.
It was her nickname.
Yeah, there are a lot of things about this book I really liked, and Pet's one of them.
Yeah. So she's like, "Okay, I'll go with you," because she's thinking, if anything goes wrong, I'll just like flag down airport security and get away from this dude. Except, of course, he has a private jet in a random ass cornfield somewhere. And so she's like,
because it's too dangerous to go anywhere else.
Well, and also she doesn't have a passport. And she's like, "Oh, we're just going to do an international travel with no passport and it's going to be fine." Like, no, that's not how that works. So they get to the airstrip thing, which is really just like a crop duster field. And he's talking to the pilot, and she's like, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit." She panics and she books it into a cornfield. She runs. Also, she's only wearing a silk robe. I need everyone to know that.
And then he's like, "No, don't run. Get back here." And then he takes off after her into this
And he's so
cornfield,
fast.
and he tackles her to the ground.
And he makes sure to twist his body midair.
Over.
Yeah, so that he hits the ground, not her, the whole thing.
And then he like rolls over, so she's on her back and he's above her, and they have this like,
and he's between her legs.
And then she starts trying to pull herself. She tries to push herself away, and he pulls her back down under her. And when he does that, her robe goes up her body.
Oh, her
robe. Now she's just pussy out.
She is full pussy out in a cornfield. Yes, and he says, "Never run from me. I'll catch you. It's what I do." Which was very important to me and also the plot. So she is like just pussy out. And at that point, he takes his hand and he moves his hand to her hip.
His big, gigantic Russian mob man hand?
Yeah, he's got a big old meaty fist. And he like moves so that his thumb is on like right on her on her pubis. And like right at the edge of her red curls because she is a redhead all over.
To be clear, I walked into this book knowing nothing. And then this was page 30. And I was like, oh, this is a horny book.
Oh, it's super horny. It's notoriously horny. Yes.
I had no idea.
Oh my
I just thought it was a mafia book.
You got the wrong TLDR from whoever described this book to you. That is not correct. Okay, so then as that happens, her hips undulate under him. And she's like, oh, because his name is Sebastian.
Sebastian.
No, well, in the audiobook, it's Sebastian. So I don't know.
Oh, well, so in the book, it's described as Sebastian with
Russian
a D.
Sebastian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sebastian.
So
anyway.
Then she's like undulating and he's like obviously into it. But then he scoots back and he's got a look of disgust on his face. And he's like, pull yourself together and get on that plane. And if you can't.
Her. He almost lost his ding dong cool and like hard.
Yeah. Oh, golly, is what I said. So then on the plane.
Wait, one thing though, I'm so sorry.
No, please.
She was like, are you going to kiss me? And he says, would you want a man like me to take your mouth?
To take your mouth? Sir!
Sir!
I need you to be more or less specific, okay? So, would you want a man like me to take your mouth?
Yes,
Wow!
1,000,000 times yes! Where are you? I like Nebraska.
So he finally gets her on the plane. She steps on some briars, and so he has to pick her up like she is a sack of popcorn. And he gets her because she's so light.
Is
She's
this
so small.
Is this one? I've never heard of a sack of popcorn. That's what threw me off, and also now I'm realizing like how clever that was because they are in a cornfield.
Shit, they're in a cornfield. Wow.
The only thing that's incorrect here is that popcorn needs to be dry to be popped, and
she's not dry.
No,
she is
I don't know
lubricated.
I honestly cannot believe that she did not end up with some sort of like problem downstairs because I don't think she was not wet a single minute of this entire book that took place over months.
I mean, like, but Sabrina,
fair.
Neither was
it's fine.
I.
Just keep the myconazole on hand.
I was also not ever dry.
Yeah, but for us, for us, it was like 48 hours. For her,
it was like a singular month. This book takes place shockingly fast for the amount that happened.
Well, no. So like the first like half of the book, like until they leave Brzezinska, I don't know, whatever.
I don't know.
They leave the compound.
Yeah.
It's like a month from start to finish of that. But then it's like they're in Paris for a couple of months. They're in like
is it months
or something?
Okay.
Yeah, because
all right,
like, they
fair
talk
enough.
about like over the weeks and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, listen, here's what happens. So then they get on the plane and they take off. She is filthy. She's in a silk robe that's like probably torn a little bit in addition to like dusty and gross.
Stains all up the back.
Yeah. And she finds out a little bit more information. Her dad is like the head vor, and he's currently in a turf war. And right before he came and got her, he found out that they sent like 2 of their deadliest enforcers to come and probably kill her in the face. And so they're taking her to Russia to keep her safe. She is really trying to like fight them on as much as she possibly can, but the answer is not much. And then he says, go clean yourself up and then come back out and I will tell you more things.
So she does go clean herself up. She takes a shower and then she walks back out into the bedroom and realizes, I'm not putting that fucking robe back on. And so, listener, she gets one of his white button downs out of his bag and puts just that on. And when she walked back out into the main sitting area,
oh my God,
he was like,
yeah.
like, a bull that has seen red.
But with war horniness.
He doesn't want to gore her with his horns.
Yeah.
But, like, he wants to gore her with his penis.
That's the one. Yeah.
But he holds himself back.
He does. He has to grab the bridge of his bent nose because he's a fighter. And she says, she looks at him and she goes, tension headache? And he's like, nah. So then we find out that her dad is the unicorn of mob bosses because he is a quadrillionaire. However, he has gotten all that money, but has not at all ever and would never traffic in drugs, guns, or people. Which, like, no, I'm so sorry, everyone. No, that's not how that works. I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. I can't.
I loved Santa because that's how he's described when we do meet him. He's like a skinny Santa. And
I love him too, but like he ran some guns at some point. Like, shut your fucking mouth. He didn't run any guns ever.
Protection. Shut the fuck up, Melody.
No,
in the world.
Anyway, so don't worry. He's a good mobster, and that's why we can feel okay about this book.
But don't worry. So, like, he's a chill dude, but like Alexander Sebastian is the opposite of a chill dude because he at one point he's like understand. So he's been put in charge of. Oh, this is when we find out he did not show up that day. He has been watching her and been her secret bodyguard for a month. He's just been meandering around Lincoln, Nebraska. Nobody noticed the random
gigormous Russian man
tattooed.
Oh God, tattoos everywhere.
Oh God! Oh, so many tattoos.
I know.
Oh man, and yeah. So sorry, I'm gonna be flustered a lot.
It's all right. I'll keep us on track. So then she goes to sleep. Oh, and this is also when he tells her that she's not his type, and she's like, "Okay, ouch. I'm gonna go to bed. This blows." She goes to bed. She has a dream about him, and then what?
Before she goes to bed, she looks over her. They have an interaction, and then he tells her, "When a woman singles me out,
oh my God,
it's because she wants to get fucked. She looks at the scars and tattoos and knows she'll get fucked hard." And
I know. There were so many times reading this book where my eyes just got ginormous.
So I'm proud. I'm a proud romance reader in the fact that I can read the craziest fucking shit with a straight face, right?
Yep.
Like I'll be in public, like reading, like, and there were some scenes in here where I was like that, but like there were a couple of times where I was like, this is not a book that I could read in
I know.
public.
Certain scenes I would dissolve. I know. I would dissolve into a pile of nervous giggles.
Yeah. So she goes to sleep, like you said, and she has a wet dream, and she's diddling the do.
A little bit. Listen.
In her sleep.
Have you had this experience?
Tell me everything. I told you about my dream.
Have you had this experience where, like, you wake up rocking the boat a bit in your bed?
Never in my life. Never in my life. I've had this conversation because I read about it in books, and in books they're like, I woke up with my hands down my pants on the verge of orgasm, and I'm like, is this? I asked some friends, I was like, is this a thing that people do? And then I found out that I'm the weird one.
No, I've never woken up with my hands down my pants, but I do sleep with a body pillow, and I do accidentally abuse that body pillow every once in a while.
I also sleep with a body pillow, and I've never in my life. Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying, though, is like,
okay.
I'm the weird one here, Melody. So, like, you're the way you started to bring it up, you were like, do I want to admit to that? Yeah, admit to it, because every fucking person, other than me, apparently, hump shit in their sleep.
I don't know the way to say it like that, though. You know what I mean?
That's what's happening.
A little bit of.
I'm sorry that I laid it out in bare terms, okay?
Yeah. So then she hears him saying, Natalia, are you dreaming about me? Natalia. She opens her eyes. He is shirtless. He's laying next to her with his hand all like on his elbow, propping himself up, looking down at her. And and so he asks her about this whole thing, and she says, well, I told you what I was doing. What the fuck are you doing here? And his answer is watching you and getting harder by the heartbeat. Sir!
No. I highlighted that too. And then he's like, you make these sounds, your whimper,
noises,
your moan. I hear them and thought leaves my brain. And she's like, you've been drinking. Because, like, this is one of the few times we'll find out. Like, so just.
He doesn't drink, yeah.
Yeah, at all.
Really.
Except occasionally because, like, that's just expected in the Russian mafia. You gotta drink some vodka.
Yeah, for toasts and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm not going to say that out loud. That's a Russian word, and I'm going to butcher it, and I'm not.
He says, like, a little tiny bit. Yeah.
And it was hot. And then she's like,
and then he looks down. He starts undoing.
Why do you call me pet?
Why do you call me pet, ma'am?
Maybe because you make a man want to collar and keep you?
And keep you. Wowza. Meanwhile, he's looking down at her chest and he goes, what were you dreaming about that made those so hard? Ooh! Then he undoes the buttons and like opens the shirt like just enough to like keep her nipples covered. Yeah. And then he tells her that when she was in the bath, he's like, my greatest regret is that you didn't finish in front of me when you were in the bath. And he says that when she was in the bath, his mouth watered to suck these nipples. And so basically he's fighting himself the whole time. Yeah, it's sort of on TM. Like so he's fighting himself the whole time. She still has her
skin tag at the end of this, to be clear, but like it's on. It is on TM. Like
yeah. But he's fighting himself the whole time, and he's like, tell me to stop and leave you alone. Tell me that I frighten you. And she's like, no, I'm not going to tell you that. I want this. It's just that I don't want you to start because it seems like you're not going to follow through. And then he decides that he is going to show her what a mistake it is to find him hot and sexy. And he says, by the end of this, you're going to fear me. And then he starts doing a nipple play.
He gives her a nipple orgasm. Like, he does not touch anything below the belt, but he does, like, a bunch of, like, teasing and edging on her nipples and stuff, which, like, that just boggles my mind. As somebody with a large pair of tits, it's very common for there to be, like, not super sensitive in the nipple area. And so, like, I read these books, or I have, like, I know people who talk about it in life, and they're like, oh, yeah, I love a nipple orgasm. And I'm like, what? Oh, at one point when he's playing with her nipples, though, this is very important. He says, if you were mine, I'd pierce these, force you to wear my gold. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing that just got said.
And then she said, I've already been sexually tortured enough. Leave me alone. And he's like, maybe I should show you what real sexual torture is. Because he won't tell her anything. So she's like, since you refuse to tell me anything, I'll tell you everything. And that's basically how the rest of their relationship goes. He refuses to tell her anything. And she's like, you're so hot and I want you so much. God. I've been attracted to you from the beginning, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, if you knew me better, you wouldn't be saying this. He's like, I'm a contract killer. I'm an enforcer. And then he says, you wouldn't like it in my bed. I demand obedience. And she's like, all of this sounds great. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then she says, what are your special interests? And he says, I need to do filthy things to your body, Natalia. And I know I never can because she's taboo to him. She is the Vor's daughter, the boss's daughter, his hero's daughter.
Yeah. And the only reason that he was the one sent because he's the only one that her father trusted to take care of her.
Right.
And then he did promptly give her a nipple, chase her down in a cornfield and give her a nipple orgasm in the airplane.
And then she does one of the best things in the whole wide world, which is nobody has to know. We should get it out of our system before we get to Russia. Yeah.
Okay. That's how that works.
And then he says, I'll give you a taste and you will fear me. So he keeps on saying things like, submit to me. He spanks her several times. It's so much.
And then he starts like face fucking her.
Yeah.
Wall spanking her.
And he says, this was supposed to be a punishment for you. It was supposed to be a punishment for both of us. But you fucking love it. You need it, even if you don't know how badly.
And at one point, he like before they get really into it, he says, "You weren't supposed to be like this."
Yeah, he keeps on being like, "Fuck you! You were not supposed to be like this. You're ruining my life."
He literally says at one point, "Fuck you,"
twice. Yeah, and she's like, "I don't understand. What did I do wrong?" And it's like, "You're giving head too well. That's all."
And then isn't this isn't
and then
this
he 69s her.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, because like you don't see a whole lot of 69.
I know.
I was
Great
like,
stuff.
Hell yeah.
So yeah,
and like
she's like giving him a beej, and then he all of a sudden he's like, I just want one taste to get like so I can be sated. And he flips underneath her. She's on top of him doing a big old 69, and they he's always like take my Russian seed from me. Milk my cock. So I'm about to give you your fill.
Take my cum from me. And I was like,
that's the whole thing.
I dig it.
Oh boy.
And then, so he's like finger fucking her though. And so afterwards, this is when he goes, "You were tight. Very much so. Surely you're not a virgin." And immediately I was like, oh my God, are we really about to make a big fucking deal about this? And then of course he does. And so he's like, why are you on birth control? And God bless the representation. Because she's like, in her head, she's like, for my period, you fucking nitwit.
Yeah.
And then I loved this because she said, this episode's just going to be nothing but fucking quotes. There's so many good quotes.
I know.
And he's talking about despoil, like how he despoiled her. And she's like, despoil? You didn't just use that archaic word. Well, it's only to be expected since we didn't have a chaperone and your man root is so virile.
Ooh, your man root.
Like, I love you.
It's so good. It's so good. So he's like, that can never happen again. We have to forget it ever happened.
Which obviously they never touch each other once ever again.
No, end of book.
This is it.
Goodbye.
This is the end.
Yeah.
Bye, my lady love.
Yeah. So they get to the estate, and as she's going on her way in, she meets her like distant cousin Philippe, who is Russian, but went to boarding school in England and so has an English accent.
Immediately he came on scene, and it was so obvious. It was like, this little fucking turd is about to cause some problems.
He does. So then she meets her dad. He's very excited about this. And one of my favorite things about this book is that apparently she's not the only one who either found him or tried to convince them that they're his kid. But Sebastian says, you're the only one that he ever wanted to be his kid, though.
Yeah, because she didn't know who he was. She's not a gold digger out to get it. She was just looking for her dad.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad.
I know.
She's just looking for her family.
Yeah.
And she's actually kept it a secret. The only person who knows that she's been looking is her best friend, because she doesn't want her family to know, because she doesn't want her mom to know
her mom's
that
feelings.
She's been seeking it out.
Yeah.
Although, like, to be clear, she has a severely dysfunctional relationship with her mother, just based on the little bit that we saw it.
Totally.
But that is all I'm going to say about that, because it barely ever comes up again in the book.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, like, she worked 3 jobs in addition to going to school so that she could afford the private investigators to find whatever family she has in Russia. And they're really impressed by that. Yeah.
She's been fucked over by private investigators in the past, and she's desperate to find her birth parents. And so she keeps taking that risk.
Yeah. So she gets to her, like, giant, plush suite. And he's gotten her $1 million worth of jewelry as of like a welcome gift, brand new MacBook, all the business. Okay. She is now a mafia princess, and she will be treated as such. And then that night they're having a welcome banquet so that she can meet all of the soldiers. It's incredible. Yeah. So Philippe picks her up at the door that night, and he is like, trying to get to know her, being very charming. And then when they get to the door, he pauses and like puts his hands on her shoulders and like gets himself into a fairly suggestive like position in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And Sebastian opens the doors and they're just caught in this like pose. Meanwhile, she's like, I don't know what he's doing or whatever. Like, why does Sebastian look so mad?
Well, and so to be clear, like to give this some context, because I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And I don't know if it's like this in other Russian, what is it? The Bratva?
Yeah, Bratva.
Yeah.
Bratva.
Folks, but like if it seems like you are trifling together, you're as good as married.
I mean, if it's the boss's daughter, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, essentially. And so like this becomes a continuous sticking point thing. Like Philippe is continuously trying to get them into suggestive situations.
Right, it's true. Yeah. You break that hymen, you buy it, you know? And that is that's what Philippe is trying to accomplish right now. So she goes in and her dad's like, is everything okay? And she's like, oh, everything's totally fine. This is amazing. Thank you so much. They get Hammer Town doing toasts and, you know, there's so much food and it's incredible.
A good time.
At one point, Philippe is trying to like mansplain a dish to her. And Sebastian's like, she studied Russian. I think she's fine over there.
She's fluent in she can speak a couple of different languages decently, but like she's fluent in Russian because for her degree, she has to have she has to take like 5 years of a language. And so she chose Russian because
she knew that she was Russian. From there and she might want to talk to family someday if she ever found them. Ooh.
And then she puts her foot up. Because she's decided that she's just drunk enough. And so she is like, I'm going to tease the shit out of this fucking enforcer. And so she takes her, actually, no, you have to take this one.
Oh, you're right.
I just remembered. I'll take the maid closet. You take this, please.
Perfect. So she takes off her shoe.
And get my composure.
She takes off her shoe while everybody else is like arguing about sports cars. And she starts giving him a foot job under that table because he is across from her and he's very like giving her stern looks and like, you can't be doing this. Like, don't do that. His dick like pulses against the sole of her foot a couple of times because he's so into it. And then after that, she's like, okay, well, I'm so tired. I gotta go to bed. Goodbye, everyone. I'm gonna walk really slowly to my room.
She walks into the hallway and she's like slowly meandering her way back. And then while she's going around, she's waiting for him, hoping that he's gonna come to her. And guess what? He does. He comes rolling down that hallway like
and he's
freaking black storm.
Oh, and he's mad.
Is like, oh my God, he's so mad. And then he he pulls her into a maid's closet.
Yeah.
And this is such a mood because she's like, oh man, this is such an old maid's closet. I'll bet there's been all sorts of trysts happening in here.
Oh yeah, because this is a former czar's house that was like purchased and renovated.
And then he just fucking takes over her mouth. Basically, and he's like, your eyes were begging me to bend you over that table and plunge into your pussy. And she's like, yes, that's what I want. And he's like,
that's exactly what I want.
Like, shit. And his whole
thing is like, don't ever tease me. Because you teased me so much, I'm going to show you exactly what I felt like, and I'm going to tease you. So he
ends up like making her come like so fucking hard, and then he fucking makes her lean back and hold her knees up to her chest, and then
her ankles are on his shoulder,
and then he comes all over her vulva,
and he says, "Watch me come on you."
And then he rubs it into her skin.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do not ever tease me again. I only play games when I make the rules. And I was like, and he's like, you won't like the consequence. Oh. And then after he rubs it into her skin, because to be clear, they haven't taken her underwear off, right? So he's basically been fucking her.
Yeah, he's been rubbing the underside of his
over
cock.
Her underwear. But he slaps her pussy.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
I was like, I love a pussy slap, man.
Yeah.
Like when and it's just very unusual. Even in a BDSM novel, like I feel like there is not enough pussy slapping.
Agreed.
Y'all.
There's not enough pussy slapping. There's not enough tit slapping in BDSM novels.
Right?
Any novels. Any of them.
Like the ass has seen enough. The ass
I know.
has seen enough.
Right? It's been played out, that one. Sabrina, can I tell you my favorite detail about this Sexy Times?
Uh-huh.
When he's gonna go fuck her, like, you know, rub the underside of his dick and like basically fuck the slit of her. Oh my God, it's so graphic. I thought at first that he pulled her underwear over to the side, but listener, he doesn't do that. He reaches in and he with his thumbs and he pulls her lips apart so that her underwear is like in the middle of the slit. And then does a big wowza.
Big grinding to orgasm.
Big grinding. Honestly, this was a wet hump. This is not a dry hump. This is a very wet hump.
Oh my God. This is a wet hump. And then, oh my God. And then he's like tugging on her nipple. That's another thing, is there's so much like nipple abuse, and it's like as kink, it's not like, if you know what I mean. And like
as like a sexual act.
Yes,
like the sexual act. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just, if you're not, if there are any listeners not in the BDSM scene, then like the term abuse does not necessarily mean what you are assuming it means.
Yes.
But yeah, and and then after he is like, he gets his hand all wet at one point too, and he like puts his hand in her mouth and starts like fingering
he tells her to suck.
Throat.
It goes places, and we loved it.
It was like, the sex in this book is some of the best sex I've read in a book.
I mean, she's Kresley Cole. Her, like, bow down. You know what I mean?
I don't remember being quite this. Like, I've read the first couple of books in her Immortals After Dark series, and I do not remember being quite this enthralled.
Interesting. So you know how people say that Tessa Bailey is the queen of dirty talk? I feel like this book makes me feel like Kresley Cole could also be in the running for that title.
Kresley Cole is also in that royal family.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you and I are quoting. I don't know that you and I have ever quoted as much as
I don't think so. I don't think so.
And we're only an hour in.
I know.
We're like a third of the book in.
I know. Wait, so he says, "Don't ever tease me again or you won't like the consequences." And she says in her mind,
note to self.
Yeah.
Tease Sebastian at earliest opportunity. Investigate consequences. And I was like, that's a mood.
But it doesn't work.
Mood.
It is a fucking
mood.
No, it doesn't work. He ignores her for a full
hot
week.
He's cold. He's
yes, and he's no. He's in and
not
he's
in
out.
Yet.
No, he's definitely not in yet.
he's
delaying the in. Okay, so, and when they see each other, he asks like if she's gonna stay because she's been there for 7 days, and they're like, "So you live here now? You're gonna abandon your whole life in America and you live here now?"
We abducted you from your home that you've lived in your entire life.
Yeah.
But like, you're a Russian princess and you live here now, right?
Yeah. And so she's feeling a lot of pressure from like multiple angles, because she also, right around here, she has a conversation with her dad that involves like what it would mean to live there and how it would be different once the danger is gone. And then he also asks her if like the attraction is two-sided, because Sebastian has told him, "I was inappropriate with your daughter and I have sexy feelings for her and not family feelings for her."
Move, bro.
It's hot. Yeah, it's hot. And she's like, "Well, I mean, yes." And then he sort of gives her the lay of the land as far as both the mafia situation is concerned and Sebastian. So he says that if they continue to canoodle, they're going to be basically married. Like that's just how it works. Either don't canoodle or canoodle for keeps. Yeah. And she's like, "Okay, wow, that is a lot. That's a lot. And then he says, "I actually thought you might go for Philippe because, Sebastian has some demons. There's some darkness and shadows like in his life, in his past."
Which even he doesn't know
All
what
of it.
those are, because he's never probed for it. Like, he knows that some bad shit happened, but like he doesn't know all of the details.
Yeah.
Although, I like, after finishing the book, I have a
Yeah.
lot of questions about like,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we're ever gonna get answers to them.
No.
Of like, her dad had to know what family he was from.
I think he did,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he did. Because so we find out that he found Sebastian on the streets of St. Petersburg. He saw him basically like fighting an old man, and he wouldn't stop getting up, or not an old man, but like a man, when he was 13.
Mhm.
And every time he would get hit, he would get back up. And then finally, like, the dude tired himself out, and that's when Sebastian got his one hit in and knocked the guy out.
And when her father asked why he didn't stop and why he didn't give in, his answer was, shame is more painful than blows.
Which ends up being
Oh.
kind of a metaphor, and it's not great. Like, shame isn't just shame, and it's bad.
Yeah.
So then he's like, I brought him into like my mentorship, and now he's like the best enforcer. He's also a vor, we find out. Like, he's like a leader on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ignores her for another week. And
God.
then she invites Philippe out for a horse ride because she has horses now. She's a horse girl now. And Sebastian comes up right as they're about to leave, and he's like, oh, Philippe, you need to be seen inside. Somebody needs you. Like, Kovaliev needs to see you. I'm going to take her on a horseback ride. And Philippe is like, no, the fuck you're not. She's going to come inside with me.
Yes, the fuck he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And
she
he
doesn't care about Philippe like that. She just
No.
wants to go for a horseback ride. She doesn't care who it is, and it's just lucky that it is Mr. Ice King over there.
Wow. Yeah. And Sebastian looks at Philippe and he says in Russian, she's with me. And Philippe looks at her and he's like, is he? Like, are you with him? And she's like, like, not, no. Ah. And then they get on the horse and they leave. They have like some fun conversations, but that's not the important part.
I would like to say, this is when it became very clear to me that Sebastian is a blusher, and it slaughtered me. He cannot keep the red off of his cheeks like a ton of times throughout this book. And I was like, I just love a blushy boy. I love a blushy broken boy.
I hear you.
In a book, anyway. To an extent, though, because there are so many times in this fucking book where I was just like, Natalie, I'll put it this way, Natalie put up with it a lot longer than I would have been
Oh my
able
God.
to.
Right? Like, wow. Yeah. So there's a big storm that happens, and oh no, they have to take refuge in a Russian sauna, just a country sauna. It's basically like a little outbuilding. And he puts her in there.
They walk in, and I would just like to clock this because I clocked it, and I was like, please, 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 please make use of this. And then every time I've ever done, 99% of the time when I do that in a book, I'm like, please make use of this thing that you made a note of in the book. They don't. And I'm like, that's a missed fucking opportunity. They don't, because there are these like switches, essentially, like reed switches that they would wet and then like hit each other on the back in the sauna so that it like to increase blood circulation. And I was like, please, for the love of God, use that on her. Use that on her.
You have to.
And then guess what? So he's like, take off your clothes because we're going to go warm up in the sauna. And then she's like, what? No, I don't want to. And he's like, there's one thing you should know. And she's like, what's that? And he's like, I wasn't asking. And that is a refrain throughout the book. And I loved it.
I know.
So they go into the sauna and then have this like back and forth where he's like, he's trying to like keep control of himself and not do what he wants to do to her. He doesn't want to defile her.
Right.
And she's like, please, I'm so angry that you introduced me to the possibilities out there and I want it. And then like, why won't you just let me have it?
Well, but then she also says, I'm obviously into this, but I did hear about that fucking is forever thing. And like, I don't want that. So we can't have penetrative sex. And he says, you control this situation, Natalia. And so he's like, tell me what you want. And then she says, she's always saying more. But she reiterates that they're not going to have penetrative sex. And then he says,
he fully thought that they were going to be having penetrative sex in this instance.
Absolutely. He was campaigning for it. Yeah. And so he says, you only care about preserving your way out. Like, all you can think about is how to make sure you're not with me at the end of this. Fine. I won't fuck you until you beg me. But if you can't resist me, that's not on me. That's not my fault. So then he does tie her legs up, okay?
And her arms.
And her arms. Then he starts using the ladle with, he starts going back and forth between the super hot water and ice cold. What?
So he ties her up and all of that, and then he says, I want you to see the need I'll be battling. And he's touching himself.
He gets very naked.
And then he puts a blindfold on her and is like, and then I want you to do nothing but feel. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. So she's all tied up and blindfolded. By the way, she got dropped in the deep end of the kink pool. Like,
there wasn't really a slow roll situation for her. And it works.
And my note here, though, is, oh my God, he's got her dressed up like a sexy turkey.
It's true.
And then later in the book, she calls it that. She's like, he trussed me up like a turkey. And I was like, same brain, girl.
Yep, same brain. So as he's going back and forth between the hot water and the cold water, he starts feeding her cold water so that she can not be so parched, okay? Feeding it with his finger, all right? And she's like sucking it down. She's so into it. But then she feels the head of his cock just like right on her mouth. And she keeps on reaching up to like get more of the cock in her mouth, and he won't let her. But then he starts pouring the cold water down his cock. So that's how she drinks it. Oh my God. She's just slurping at the head of his cock. And it's incredible.
Ooh, yeah. And then he is like, if you like, don't come without my permission. And she's like, please, I need to come. And he says, say it in Russian. And so she does. And then he says, because he's going down on her, he's like eating the hell out of that puss. And
for the first time in her life.
And he says, so she says, please, in Russian. And then he says, enjoy more of my kiss. And I was like, yes, please. Yeah.
But he keeps on like pressuring her. He's like, ask me, beg me for my cock. And she's like, no, I'm super not going to do that. And he's being like, submit to me,
surrender.
Bend to my will.
He says surrender a ton throughout this book, and like no complaints.
No complaints at all. Yeah. And then she's like, no, I don't know you well enough to sign on for forever, basically.
So then he decides to basically punish her for it.
Kinda.
But like sexy punishment?
Yeah.
And he goes and gets one of those reedy switches.
Yeah.
And like she has water all over her, and he starts slapping her breasts with it.
Yeah.
And she's like almost about to come. And then he's all pissed off. And so he's like consensually hitting the shit out of her breasts with this reed.
And then he starts fucking her with the handle of that ladle.
Yeah. But before that, he says, understand me. If I'm your first lover, I will be your last. Because he's basically like telling her, and I would kill any man who touched you.
Terrifying. He will say that just out loud later, you know?
And then he says, then I won't fuck you till you beg me to outside of this torment because I'm playing to win.
Oh my God.
He sure is. And then you are so right. He fucks the hell out of her with the handle of the ladle.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So then afterwards, they're talking about the status of their relationship because she realizes that the groom from the, stable is there to get the horses.
This manipulative little shit.
It's a big manipulation. And like, this was one of the parts where I was like, this is super fucked. Alexi, all right, this is super fucked up. Then there's another part like at 3/4 of the way in where I was like, this is extra super duper fucked up.
Can I say another thing that there's not enough of in books?
Yeah.
After she gives him a blowjob, because this ends with her going down on him.
Yes.
After she, he partially unties her.
She has to liberate herself.
Mm-hmm.
So that she can rush over
to get to him.
Yeah.
And then after he comes, she basically sucks him like a pacifier. She self-soothes with his cock. And I love that. That's not enough in books. Y'all,
do you?
And then he feeds her his cum again because
it squicks me out a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I love it.
It weirds me out.
Oh god, I was like, this.
I'm so glad you love that. Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I'll enjoy that. You're allowed to enjoy the under the
under the table foot job. Yeah.
Yep.
So
that thing.
Okay, basically, she's like, if you called the groom and you told them to be here in no less than 2 hours, everybody's going to know what we've been doing. And he's like, yes, that is correct. Absolutely. She's like, so it seems like everybody's going to think that you're plighted now that you're saddled with me forever. And he's like, yes, absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go tell your dad that we're together now. And she's like, wait a minute. This whole time I was saying we're not going to fuck because then we won't be signed on for forever. And then he says, we're inevitable. Mm-hmm. And she says, no, volcanoes are inevitable. Bad things are inevitable. And he says, no, powerful things are. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, you don't know this because you don't have a ton of sexual experience, but the magic that happened, the alchemy that happened in this room and in the maid's closet and in the airplane, that is
not normal.
No, that is unicorn level sex.
And this is when we find out that the reason that he's been so hot and cold the last couple of weeks is because her dad asked him to give her a couple of weeks to settle in. And so he can't keep his chill.
So he's given her literally 14 days. Exactly 14 days.
Exactly 14 days. And we find out that from the first time he saw her, he was like, yeah, that's mine.
The first time he saw her when he started stalking her for her dad, he called her dad to be like, you need to bring somebody else out here because I am having carnal thoughts about your daughter and they are dark and they are deep. Oh my God. So basically, so she's trying to, meanwhile, listener, this poor thing, that whole conversation and then getting dressed and then getting shoved out the door is her aftercare.
I did make a note of that. I was like, this is bad.
Bad. So they go back to the house.
Everyone's staring at them walking up.
Because everybody knows they've been gone for too long in a storm.
Yeah. And then he straight up just macks a good one on her in the front hallway.
He's just making out with her face on the front steps.
Philippe comes out and Philippe is
mad.
Pissed.
He says, did you have a good time with the guard dog?
Oh, Philippe. God. Philippe, you fucking
such a dick
asshole.
Nose. Yeah, and so she's like, okay, well, now everybody definitely absolutely knows that, we've done sexy things because he just, she said she thought it was going to be a regular kiss goodbye or whatever, but
and then
he was going to light that fire in her again.
This was the next day and she's in her dad's office and she and her dad are talking and she's like, that's not what I want. I'm not ready to be essentially betrothed. And her dad
because he says you have two choices. You either are okay with being betrothed or I have to send Alexi away.
And so she says, okay, then send him away. And she says walks in smiling because he's so happy. And then he hears her say that and it's like iron shutters just dropping on his face.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I hate that I was sad for him because I was so angry at him for doing that.
He was such a big manipulator.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so then he storms off. And she says, yeah, go find some other like submissive bimbo to give you what I obviously can't. And he says, that's the plan, pet.
Well, then he goes after her. So she goes after him and like
Yeah.
storms after him into his car. And he turns around at one point and she's like, you don't understand. And he's like, I understand perfectly. You want me to make you come. You crave for me to fuck you, but only if it ends there. Beyond sex, anything with me doesn't appeal to you. And then he tears off in his Mercedes.
And meanwhile, she's like, I don't know if anything else about you appeals to me because I don't know you. You refuse to tell me anything about yourself. How am I supposed to say, yeah, sure, I'll spend the next 50 years with this fucker if I don't know you? That's bananas. But like not
clear,
to the Russian mob, I guess. Yeah,
They're
probably
the
not for
mob.
him. Probably not for him. Yeah, probably not for him. You're right. So anyway, she's like, oh, he's going to fuck some other lady. I'm so mad about it. How dare he? We're definitely done now. Like, we're super done. He comes back.
They are children
Yeah.
arguing over a toy truck in the sandbox. And they don't realize that each other is the toy truck.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need y'all to just, like, I need both of you to simmer down.
Yeah.
Okay? I just need you to, like, take 2 deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And just have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Mm-hmm. And they can't. So he comes back the next
Incapable.
day, and they're going into her father's study sort of independently, but at the same time. And so she's like, oh, yeah, you get some strange pussy? You so happy with yourself?
You proud of what you stuck it in?
Yeah.
You happy now?
You so happy? And he's like, I wasn't with anyone else. And then they go inside and she says, like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be total grown-ups about this. I am going to move to Russia. I live here now. Someday I'll finish my degree here, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to be fine. We're going to be adults.
And
But
then
then-
Philippe walks in. Philippe walks in with a bloody hand that's wrapped in some cloth and a fucking machine gun. And he has gone full Looney Tunes. He has lost it because turns out we've been getting hints this entire time that he is a gambler who is in deep. And then everything was fine. Well, so then everything went bad because he was supposed to be the heir to Natalie's dad. And then...
Which, like, also he wasn't. He was just letting people believe that.
No. Yeah, because it was Sebastian.
Yeah.
And so Philippe, it went bad because it got around that her father, like the day she gets there, has already rewritten his will so everything goes to her and everybody knows. And so everything goes bad for Philippe. And then it got around that he and her were trifling, which was not true, but it seemed like it. And so then everything was fine again. And then it got out that she and Sebastian were essentially betrothed and things were not fine for Philippe.
Well, yeah,
again. In
because
fact, they were
now
so
his-
not fine.
Yeah, his creditors are like, you
That
don't
they
have
took-
anything to pay us with. We know that you don't if you're not the heir.
And so they took 3 of his fingers. And so Philippe has decided, okay, I know where I'll get that money. I'm going to basically sell her father for ransom.
Do a bounty. He's going to
Yeah.
turn her dad in for a bounty. And Sebastian's like, hey, this hasn't like super gotten out yet, but the bounty no longer exists because I wasn't in some strange pussy. Thank you very much. I was just doing a giant murder on the guy doing the bounty. And he's like, oh, like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Sebastian's like getting in between Philippe and her. And then finally it gets to the point where Philippe like starts, shooting all over the
Shooting.
place. He tackles her and her dad, Kovalyev, dies. He gets super shot and like dies in her arms. Dies in their arms. Both of
got-
them.
I had gotten
I was
really
upset about
attached
this.
to him.
Yeah.
And like, I was really sad.
I know. And while he's dying, he says, you did the right thing. Like, don't feel bad about this. You know that if you would have saved me, I never would have been able to live with her dying. So do not feel guilt about this. You did the right thing saving her. And then he says, you belong to each other now. You need to take care of each other. And now he's dead. Oh, no.
Yeah, and so it's time to go. Like, it's time to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Well, because Philippe is saying that if he didn't know that the guy was dead and the bounty is over, everybody
other
else
bounty hunters also don't know.
Yeah, he's like, people are on their way. So, like, you need to, like, get out of here. And then she watches Sebastian shoot Philippe in the head. Goodbye. Then, as they're, like, getting away.
Yeah, double tap.
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, because he got shot before, too. Anyway. So then he beats somebody to death.
Yeah, was gonna beat this dude into a bloody, did beat him into a bloody pulp, and she had to pull him off of this guy because they're gonna leave by boat because it's they don't know who's guarding the gate and they don't know who's loyal to them or not, and they can hear gunshots and fighting outside of the boathouse, and so they get on the boat and go. And turns out, unsurprisingly, because this is a mafia boat, it's all stocked. It's got her fake passport, which has her name, Natalie
Sebastiev.
Fake last name. Yeah.
No, it has his last name.
It's his. And then another passport that says Roman Sebastiev. And I was like, but isn't his name Alexander? And then I was like, no, I'll bet you money his name's going to be fucking Roman. I'm so proud of myself at the end of this.
Oh, you are. Look at you. You're a Sherlock Holmes.
I know.
Yeah.
And so it's got that. They've got a little bit of clothing. They have food, and they are just on a boat for a while. It takes them. They decide they're going to Paris. They got to get to Paris.
They're both obviously in shock.
Yeah.
And she ends up sitting next to him at the captain's chair. They talk about it a tiny bit. She talks about it a tiny bit. He doesn't really. And then he takes her, and when she falls asleep on him, he takes her and puts her to bed. But then she wakes up to just bang, bang, bang. She doesn't know where this banging is coming from. So she goes to investigate. She walks into another cabin, and Sebastiev is sitting in the bottom of the shower, just punching the fuck out of the marble shower wall. He has broken marble tiles. His hand is a bloody mess. She's trying to get him to stop. And then she's she gets in front of him. The water's all over them. And he says, "What do you want from me?" And do you know what she says? Do you have it?
I want what's mine.
Oh, yeah. No, he says, "I want what's mine." Yeah. She says, "What do you want from me?"
I jumped ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's extra on.
Now they're going to do penetrative sex.
He just it's out of control. There is no lead up to this. It's a good thing that she was already wet, because he basically picks her up and then fucks her real hard against that the non-broken wall in the shower, and he's coming, and then while he's inside of her, he says, "You're giving me such a hot, wet clutch, about to steal my cum from me before I'm ready." Sir!
Golly! No, the other thing is, when he lowers her down onto his cock, she's getting a little bit nervous and being like, "Oh, I'll just go take it a little slowly or whatever." And he whispers in her ear, "You will take it for me." And she's like, "Yeah, I will." Turns out. And
then he does. He does come inside of her. And then, are you ready for one of my most favorite scenes ever?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Pulls out of her and takes her into the bedroom and sits, and he doesn't pull out of her. He doesn't pull out of her once.
No.
She's still this is a full IPB number 7.
Yes.
And he walks her over and sits down on the bed, and then he's just starting to harden up again, and then he lifts her up, turns her around, and splays her legs over his legs and spreads his legs and is "Look at yourself.
Watch yourself in the mirror."
And there is a mirror there, and he says, "Any man would kill for you." And then he pulls back out, and you can see the cum leaking out of her, and he said, and he spreads her, and he's like, "You see my cum inside you?" And then
and then he says, "I've never come in anyone before. Did you feel it?" And she's like, "Yeah, It was just hot. Just painting my
And he's
insides
like,
or whatever.
this need I have for you, it should unsettle you. And she says, why? And
Oh my
he
God.
says, because it unsettles me.
That's terrifying. That is objectively fucking terrifying.
That's hot.
He is a stalking mafia enforcer who, like, just killed 2 people in front of her. That's terrifying.
I was horny for it.
Objectively. I mean, I
Nope.
was also horny for it. However,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Ugh.
Book, like Sabrina reading book, hot as fuck. Somebody actually say that. I would have already checked out of this entire situation.
I don't know. I think I would have been a little bit digmatized for a while.
Oh yeah, what do they call it? She and Jess call it something in this book. It's like dick.
I don't know.
Fuck.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so he's like, you know that you're mine now. We chatted about this already. You're mine. We're going to leave St. Petersburg and we're going to go on a road trip to Paris. Yeah, what is it?
Dick glamoured.
Oh, Dick glamoured. Yeah.
That's a mood.
So after they get... so on the boat, 2 things happen after he's like, you're mine now foreversies. He hands her a letter from her dad, and then he also sees some bruises on her hips, and he does a big freak out, being like, I did that to you, which is like, come on, man.
When I fucking... Literally, I read that scene where
So
he saw
dumb.
the bruises and I like, immediately, I was like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
And then guess what?
He does a
fucking
Christian
course
Grey.
he dared.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
How
Like,
the
she's talking
fuck
about,
dare
like,
you?
Oh God.
We'll get to
Open
it.
up
Ugh.
this fucking need in me.
Pandora's box?
Yeah, and then you're just gonna shove me into a cage? Fuck you.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't gotten there yet, though.
Oh.
But we will right now because the letter from her dad is like, I think you 2 could be really, really great for each other, but you need to get him to open up about his past and his childhood and, like, teach him to talk to you, basically, is what her dad suggests. And so she's like, okay, great. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to go live with him in Paris and we're going to do this thing. Yeah.
Quote, I wasn't a big fan of women trying to fix men to change them. I always figured there were guys enough out there, so I should look for a total package that was already fully IKEA assembled or go without. And I read that and I was like, yeah, girl. And then
she's not gonna.
Did not happen. And
she's
I was
super not gonna.
She didn't even like for half a second. She did not even.
She did a flail to an airport one time. It's fine. So listen, here's what happens on the way down to the
after 2 months.
Listen, I know. So they're in the car on the way down to Paris, and she's like, ooh, I found a BDSM magazine. Look at these nipple clamps. And he's like, we'll never talk about it again. And she's like, ooh, look at the way that she's strapped down to like a, whatever. And he's like, stop it. We don't do that anymore. You don't like that anymore. And that is how their sex life continues. He's like, it's only vanilla missionary from now on because I respect you.
Because he's got a Madonna whore complex.
Yeah.
Fuck you, bro.
Yeah.
And also, like, at this point, though, like, this was a point, though, where I was like, maybe she does need to cool it a little bit on the kink, though, because she literally says, was I ready to commit to a BDSM relationship with this man? Well, at least that way I would have a defined relationship. And I was like, you are going into, like, I understand this is not a fictional novel, but, like, there's, to be clear, listener, do not read this book as some kind of BDSM Bible, because there's this is not...
No, this is firmly tips and tricks.
This is not rack. Like
no, no, no. You know what?
The sex is hot as shit. If you can get the consent, like, and you have like a healthy, safe, happy BDSM relationship with somebody. Oh my God, read the shit out of this book and like recreate these scenes. But, like, if you don't know anything about BDSM, do not come into this book and be like,
this is how we do it.
Expert. This is how we do it, because you will get your shit rocked and it will not be a good time. You're gonna get fucking taken advantage of.
No, the only thing that he hates more than the thought of other men touching her is the thought of giving her enough information for her to make an educated choice. Like, that's the only
Oh my
thing.
God, you are so right.
That's
Like, oh my God.
He
He's such a
refuses.
cagey little shit. Like, he
Yeah,
is
it's
he
bad.
he speaks 5 fucking languages and
I know, right?
cannot speak.
It's
Like,
yikes. It's yikes. So
ugh.
so this is how so now she's just like locked in a Parisian townhouse. She can't go anywhere because danger. He keeps on leaving, but he won't tell her what he's doing, who he's talking to, what the issue is, what the status of the danger is, nothing. He refuses to talk to
They
her.
literally have vanilla missionary sex and get each other off by talking about a fantasy. They dirty talk each other to fucking orgasm about him taking her ass.
Yeah.
And like, it was super fucking hot. And he's like, that's what, like, lots of couples fantasize about things and don't ever do it. Oh my God, get fucked.
I mean,
And
that's true, but also...
Oh my God, very rarely have I been so fucking pissed on behalf of a heroine, because she's been so open and like she's telling him things and like being honest and all of these things. And she says, like, he like shuts down and she says, don't close me out. And he says, how could I close you out when I never let you in?
Ooh,
that would have been it. That would have been it. Bags
he
packed,
said it out
bitch.
loud. He said the quiet part out loud. You gotta get out of there.
That. Yeah.
I mean, that's, we, in a perfect world, that's what we would do.
Yeah, that's like in a perfect world. I'd be telling you to get the fuck out of there.
That's
you tell
right.
me about it, I'd be like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And I would need you to do the same for me.
I know, right? But meanwhile, we'd be so digmatized.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he,
the glamour is strong with this one.
God. But it gets to the point where she's like, okay, my 2 goals are get him to have sex I like and also get him to talk to me.
Up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so at some point she's like, she starts diddling herself in front of the camera because the whole place is wired.
She's going to like force him into such a horny haze of
ridiculousness that he that he loses control.
Her.
So he calls her as she's mid-diddle and he's like, you better stop doing that. You better stop it.
Because there's cameras.
Yeah, the whole place is wired with cameras.
And so he can see this.
So then he comes up and he ends up fucking her real good. And she's like, we did it! Yay!
Yay!
And he's like, I can't believe that you coerced me into doing that. Like, I can't believe I've defiled you like that, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe I've made you descend down to my level. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I like this sex. Like, and she says, you didn't change me or anything. Maybe I hadn't had sex like this before, but I was certainly curious. Like, you can look at my porn favorites tab.
And then we find out that the reason he's doing this, the reason he is not giving her what she craves, is she and he are being cock-blocked from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
Because her father also wrote him a letter. And to be clear, it's not like her father said, don't do kinky shit with my daughter.
Right.
What her father fucking said was essentially, treat her like a treasure. Take care of her. And he took that as, she doesn't know her own mind, and so I need to treat her like a treasured porcelain little fuck doll, except she's not a fuck doll anymore, and that's the problem.
Like, come on, man. Yeah. And so she is like, listen to me right now. You have needs, I have needs. If we don't satisfy each other, like, you're going to go find it somewhere else. And like, did you ever think that I might go find it somewhere else?
Oh, and he is not okay with that.
He's like, I'm sorry, you want to be a person with sexual agency? How the fuck dare you? So this starts as a dream. Okay. And then it turns into a total nightmare. No, it doesn't.
Wait.
He sets her up for the sex club.
Yes. Okay. I thought
dream.
You were skipping a bunch of shit, and I was like,
no,
ma'am.
Fucking dream. He sends her a pretty dress, and he's like, we're going to go eat some very light food.
And then they go, and then on top of that, like, yes, he's giving into her sex stuff, like her sexual like desires, but at dinner, he actually opens up a little bit because she asks him why he doesn't drink alcohol, and he tells her that it's because his father was an alcoholic and he doesn't want to be like him, right? And so, like, she's like, yay, 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 yay. He opened up to me. He shared, like, something about himself. I'm so happy. And then
Then he takes her to a brand new private room in a Parisian sex club. It is a private room that has a mirror that could be two ways or could be a one way, with a view of an orgy.
Orgy.
Yeah. And just like an open playroom. It's not quite an orgy.
There's an orgy going on in there.
I mean, yes, but I don't know. Like, it didn't. Maybe it was just the way it was described. There was definitely
that's true.
Orgy, but she was always talking about like set couples
scenes.
Or thruples or whatever.
It's a kink club.
Yeah.
So like obviously there's some orgy stuff going on elsewhere, like in parts of it, but it's also like some people are just like having one-on-one 69ings or like getting spanked or whatever.
Right.
And then I had an issue with this, Sebastian.
Thank you.
Because
I had a big
he
issue with
basically
this.
plays fucking kink chicken with her, where he's like, essentially, if you can make it through this, if you can make it through this with these, it's basically the fucking kink SATs. It's
worse than that. He says he sets her up, he ties her up, he puts a chain that's connected to nipple clamps in her mouth, and he says, if you want this to stop, all you have to do is drop the chain and everything will stop. And I was like, okay, great. Wait, but I was like, great. He set up a safe situation. This is perfect.
To be clear, I was all for that because this is the closest we've come to a safe word this entire fucking book.
Yes.
Like, I was so into it. And then this motherfucker rolls in and he says, like, he starts doing things that are pushing her comfort level.
Before that, he sets up a completely and utterly unsafe situation because the safe word is not a safe word. The safe word is, if you safe word at any point during this scene where I'm going to do things that make us both uncomfortable, we will never consider any kink ever again, period, the end. So he's setting up a situation in which she cannot say no to anything if she ever wants to get like a spanking ever in her life.
He starts this is kink chicken. He starts taunting her basically because he knows he's doing things that are like beyond her comfort level.
Yeah.
And so he's doing that and he's like, all you have to do to make this stop is drop the chain.
Yeah. And she's like,
he does
I
this
wish
over
I could.
and over and over again. Like he makes it so that it's a two-way window now, so everybody in the sex room can see him doing things to her. I mean, like, to be clear, problematic as fuck.
Super problematic. So hot.
If this was fully consensual,
golly,
so hot.
Golly gee willikers.
Like, he like flogs her. He fingers her. Oh my God, he puts a fucking
dildo harness
inside of her and then harnesses it so that it just stays in there while he flogs her and like touches her clit and is like slapping her nipple, like slapping her boobs and like. Yeah. And while everybody's watching and while she's watching everybody, this is like a voyeur exhibition playland
extravaganza. And we've already gotten hints from when she diddled in the camera that like she thought that she might like being watched in some sort of scenario, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not as hard for her. Like, she's not traumatized by saying, yes, I'm going to do this, turn on the mirror, do whatever the fuck you want. And actually, he ends up being more uncomfortable with people watching her than she is.
Well, because he expected her to drop out at that. And so he was actually a little frustrated. Couldn't. Yes.
Oh, it's so fucked. Yeah, I was so mad at him. I was so mad.
He said, so like she doesn't, like she doesn't drop it when he says that he's going to, and he said, so she says, I got the sense that he hated the idea of displaying me. Caught by his own trap? Yeah. He was. Because he being for sure was. Fucking dick.
Yeah. No, he's trying to do a big manipulate on her again, and it's terrible. Mm-hmm. So,
and then it does go back to being hot, though.
It does. Yeah.
Because he, like, pulls her, like, he, like, ties her leg up so she's even more exposed, and then he starts fucking her from behind.
Yeah.
And paddling her clit.
Yeah. It's hot. It's really hot.
And then he's all upset at the end, though, because he's like, by the end of this, she comes a bunch, he comes, and he's all pissed off and like pissed off that everyone can see her, and he's like, I've given them far too much of you. And it's like, bitch, you fucking did this to yourself, Sebastian.
Yeah.
This is you. This is all you.
Yeah, you
Where's
did
your
this.
chain, bud? You would have dropped your chain so fucking fast.
Right. Well, so the one thing about this scene that I think is important for like their emotional journey is that he witnesses her go into subspace. And he witnesses like the euphoria that she feels. And
he realizes how real it is.
And how beautiful it is.
From this.
Right. That later on he'll say, you walked into a club that I used to look at as sordid, and you saw hope and you saw inspiration. And then when she entered subspace and he saw like what his ministrations were doing, he said, I also started seeing hope. So like, she wins in the end, but good fuck, she should have been safer while doing it. God damn it.
I was pretty bad. But then he does fucking kill it at aftercare.
He really does. He does a great job at aftercare.
He wraps her up in a robe, and he takes her home, and then they get in
does
a
bubble bath,
and he like washes her, and then they get a little horny again. So he like goes down on her like crazy just outside
from
of the
behind
bath,
while she's on all fours.
And this is something that this like, so we forgot. I had this highlighted earlier, but I didn't mention it. And he says that he just looks at her at one point earlier in the book, and he says obsession.
Yeah, obsessed.
And she looks back at him and says revelation. And then while they are in the bath, no, they're still in the limo actually on the way home, and he is taking care of her. And she says, which he's such a fucking liar, but she says, you'll be here to catch me when I fall, because he's explaining what subdrop is.
Yes.
And she says, you'll be here to catch me when I fall. And he says, always. So, like, that was a little bit of a ding to his incredible aftercare. Because he does not catch her when she falls. Hardly ever.
Right. But then she says obsessed and he says revelation. And so they flip that.
Well, he asks her revelation.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Her response is obsessed.
So she thinks everything's like on the right track, right? Except that the next day he ices her out real hard.
And then he keeps icing her out for weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks.
And
she's fucking losing her mind. She is spiraling the next day because
she's also caged. She can't leave the townhouse unless she's with him at night. Oh my God.
And so this is a thing that I did think about. So it is very clear to us. He says it multiple times. So that was his first date ever. He's only ever fucked women. He's never interacted. He didn't have sisters. He grew up in this mafia house where it's just a bunch of brigade dudes, and so he's never really been around women except for sex, right? And he's never stayed, right? So he's probably had experience with aftercare, and I honestly I almost couldn't be mad at him about this the next day that he just left the next day, because she's still coming down, because that was a hell of a drop into serious kink, right? Because this is the most extreme thing they've ever done. And he just left the next day, and I honestly legitimately don't think that he knew that she would have a spiral the next day when she woke up and he was gone, because she was still in subdrop. In some situations, subdrop lasts for days. BDSM is lots of fun, but it's not something to play with. You gotta listen to yourself, but because of how dysfunctional the rest of their relationship is, he is not listening when she is telling him what she needs. She is literally giving him the key to the kingdom. She has told him, this is what I need. I need more than just sex. I need you to be intimacy with me. And and oh God.
I need to know about you. And we find out later that he's just afraid that when she knows more, she's going to go running and screaming because he's a monster inside and all the business.
And this is one of the things that is so fucking common in mafia romance, and it fucking drives me up a wall. So like one of the
Hilarious.
things that one of my least favorite tropes is miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
And 99 times out of 100, miscommunication is like half of a fucking mafia romance.
Ah!
At least the ones that I've read.
Okay.
Where it's like, they just won't fucking communicate.
Mm-hmm.
My fucking God. And half the time, they speak more than 2 languages, and they're fucking like, my God, buddy, you have a gazillion dollars. Go to fucking therapy.
I know, right? I know.
Jesus Christ. And like on top of that, like they are telling, like, oh no, the little lady is fucking telling me exactly what she wants, exactly what she needs, but I know best. Like, alpha hole, fuck you.
I know. Well, yeah, so that is one thing. Like, the
I
sex
hate
is hot.
miscommunication tropes.
Yeah, I think I just like I'm not compelled usually by alpha holes. Usually I'm just like, that's not attractive.
Well, and that's another
Nothing
thing is,
about
like,
you is
alpha holes
attractive.
aren't really my thing either. Like,
Yeah,
they
I
better
can't
have
really
a
do
good,
it.
like, they have to have a good fucking reason. That's what it is. If there's going to be miscommunication, if there's going to be an alpha hole, there needs to be a good fucking reason for both of those things.
He's got some really good reasons.
Not for this level.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. That tracked for me completely. He's got good reasons. Do I hate them? Sure.
Yes. Well, so I guess what I'm getting at is his continuous what pisses me off. I'm getting flustered because I'm so fucking annoyed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he continuously tells her, "I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want."
Which is,
and she has.
But
said
what he's
it.
and like what he's actually saying is, I can't give you what you want.
But
he doesn't want to say that out loud.
I get that, but like.
No, I know.
My God.
So then after all of this, she finally just like breaks because a guy that he's been working with long distance and she's been asking questions about shows up.
Maxine.
This is Maximilian, Max. And she overhears that they are brothers, and she knows about the family because she did a Google on him trying to figure out who he is, and she found this other like very wealthy family. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, well, that can't be the same one. Then Max calls him Roman. He says his first name is Roman. And it's this
There is a Roman Sebastian in that family.
Yeah. And so he keeps on being like, you need to go upstairs right now. And he keeps on trying to order her around as if it's a scene. And she's like, that's not how real life works. This is bullshit. So she's like, fine, I'll go upstairs. That's totally fine. And then she packs like a to-go bag and goes to the airport and buys a ticket to Nebraska ASAP.
And he comes in like a freight train. He makes it in past security and he like grabs her and he's like, you're coming with me. You are not fucking leaving. Yeah. Like this, he just drags her out and
he abducts her again.
Home. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, you don't understand. When I said you're never going to run away from me and you will never be rid of me, I meant that. Like, I have an unhealthy need for you. And I don't know how to fix this. And she's like,
die with you.
Yeah. So finally she's like, you could have fixed it so many times. All you have to do is fucking talk to me. And he says, and this is also a little bit understandable. He's like, every time I think about, trying to be open with you, it feels like you're pulling away more and more and more. And so it seems like diminished returns to like make myself vulnerable if you're already out the door. But really, he thinks that she's going to leave.
We are not there yet.
What?
This happens after the sex.
Oh, shit. Yeah, he does punishment sex.
He, like...
Hot punishment sex.
It was real hot. It's also
so
problematic as fuck.
So
but
hot,
it was
though.
so hot because this is when he fucks her ass, my friend.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I did not. And it's a punishment anal fuck. And he's like, puts like a fucking one. Like ties her up real hard, just like they talked about in that fantasy. And he puts a fucking like a hands-free vibe in her.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm taking this ass.
Yep. Yeah, I did forget
and
about
he's calling her like greedy girl and like.
Well, but that's also what she wants. Like that is an improvement,
it was
right?
great.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
So then afterwards,
But
she's
yeah.
like, this is still over. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's still over. And she's like, you haven't given me what I need emotionally. So finally, he's like,
This was a good grovel, to be clear.
It was a very good grovel. He opens up about
to me.
his whole childhood. He tells her like most of his early traumas. And like the thing that it's heavy shit. It's really heavy shit. He
like trigger warning.
Yeah. Trigger warning for a lot of things.
I mean, to be clear, there's a lot of trigger warnings already up until now in this book. But
basically his dad was an alcoholic who would beat the fuck out of everyone. And so finally one day he, after trying to hide his little brothers in the Siberian winter outside.
Because they weren't safe inside the house because his dad knew where all of the hidey holes were.
Yeah. So he went back in because his little brother's lips were turning blue. And he ends up getting his dad to the top of the stairs and pushing him down the stairs so that he dies. And he's pretty sure that that is also how the dad killed the mom, because the mom did die after falling down the stairs after a fight. And then he thinks, I'm going to be arrested. I'm fucked. So he like takes a little bit of cash and runs away. And he's a street kid for a year and a half in which he's incredibly abused on a lot of different levels. Yeah. And then he gets found by Kovalyev and, you know, his life got better from there. But
you've said his name out loud so much. Is that how it's pronounced?
That's how the audiobook person did it. I don't know. Kovalyev.
Like
yeah.
Anyway, back to the trauma.
Yeah. And so he tells her all of that. And like, he was afraid that she was going to hear all of that and be like, I can't be with somebody like that. And on the one hand, okay. On the other hand, like, she has rolled with every single one of the punches up until this point very gracefully, fucking flawlessly. Like, she found out her dad was a mafia boss and she was like, okay, cool. Like, no guns though? Fine. She watched you kill 2 people in the face and she was like, oh my God, thank you for protecting me. Like, she's been fine, dude. Like, you told her that you're an enforcer.
I was a little frustrated.
I know.
Like, she knows who you are. Like, anyway, then he says, you aren't disgusted with me? And she's like, of course not. Like,
no.
No. She does not say I love you. But then she asks him, and this actually made me laugh a little bit in this, like, middle of this sadness. She's like, will you tell me when you first realized your particular interests? And he says, I'm to reveal even more. Yeah. And she's like, yes, Sebastian. Because, like, she's not taking, like, this for granted. She's like, he never tells me shit. He's telling me everything right now.
That's right.
And so we find out that while he was on the streets, there was a particular sex worker that they
would sort of watch.
Other boys would watch, and a man came and was using her in the alley, and using is the word that I'm going to use because, like, he was dominating the shit out of her. He was essentially using her as a fuck doll in the alley, but that's what she wanted because she hit subspace in that. And so he says he had something to offer her, something that other men didn't. I realized if I could learn how to do the things he'd done, I could master a woman like that. I could make her melt. I didn't crave the acts as much as I did the result, because he told her at the very beginning of this, it didn't start out sexual. It was like almost seeking this connection.
Yeah.
And like being able to be that person for the woman. And he has talked a couple of times at this point in this book that, like, he's done kinky sex his whole life. He's done BDSM his entire sexual experience. But
he doesn't
all
need
of it was practice.
Yeah.
All of it was practice until now, because now he has her and she is everything. And like he was talking about how, like, afterwards, like the way that she like curled into him and like sought him for comfort and all of these things, like he was like,
because aftercare is for the dom too.
Yeah, because dom drops a thing, and if you don't think it is, then you don't need to be practicing BDSM because
yeah.
And he's like, I will do anything for that reaction. And then, oh God. And then it broke my heart though, because like, he's like, but you weren't mine, were you?
And she says, yes, I was yours. I am yours. Like, right now. And so then he's like, wait, this is, we're back together? Like this worked? And she's like, yes, all you have to do is fucking talk to me and we can handle anything together. So then he comes over and they do a big snuggle and it's hot.
Says, I know I'm not right, but if you help me, I can be better. That's what I want. Natalie, understand me. I'm asking.
Oh my God.
Oh, God!
Yeah, he's a broken boy. And she's, yep. So anyway, they're together forever now. And they move back to Russia onto the estate. And it's a whole big thing. What happens in this epilogue that I didn't get to hear about in the 3 audiobooks I listened to?
So the epilogue, all it is 3 images of, the first one is their wedding invitation.
Okay.
The second one is Maximilian's response, which is, hang on. So Maximilian's RSVP is checkmark, would be delighted to accept, number of people in party, 2.
Ooh.
Dimitri's RSVP, check, must decline. And then he crossed out with regret.
Oh, shit.
And that's when I went, I need Dimitri's book like I need breath.
Yeah, Dimitri's book's gonna be great. Yeah. All right, do you have a lady love?
Yes. My lady love is a phone game called Triple Match. It is a phone game that we're not going to talk about how much real life doll hairs I have spent on.
Oh no.
In my life. But it's my favorite game to play while listening to podcasts. And I've been in the mood for listening to podcasts for the first time in a little while. And so this week I have been playing an obscene amount of Triple Match. And it is literally just a matching game. And they have like events, but like every level, there's a bunch of different little things that just get dropped and you have to go. It's all like in a pile and you have to like click 3 of them for them to match. And you can only have like, I think it's like 8 things in your little holder at once. So they like,
I'm sure it's great. I'm not getting an image and that's okay.
It's fine. It's I just like.
I also have to pee so badly, like my teeth are floating.
Okay,
so
well, that's my lady love, Triple Match.
Ooh. Okay, cool. My lady love is a little book called Using Feiho. I just recorded an episode.
Aveline is
my God.
Goddess.
I know. I just recorded an episode with HB Nick C, which will be like upcoming, I guess, in a while. And we read Saving Verico, and because this happens to me with every good alien romance I read, I promptly read basically the rest of the series in about 36 hours. So I didn't get to Using Feiho before, but then right after we recorded, I turned on the audiobook for Using Feiho, and also Stephen Dexter, put him on your audiobook narrator list. He's great. It is my favorite. It's my favorite one because he's such a sad boy, but he hides it behind charm, and he's a flamboyant pirate boy, and there's a bionic penis, okay? I have not seen a bionic penis in a minute, and because the humans are new species, he has special settings added for her. And like all he wants to do is just prove to her that he could be a good husband and do everything she wants just to make her the happiest in the whole wide world and like give her orgasms as much as possible. And her story is perfectly crafted because she's desperate to get back to Earth. And the entire time I was reading the series, I was like, bitch, you've been there 3 weeks. What is the rush on getting back to Earth? But there's a big rush and it's incredible. And like there is revenge for reasons and there is justice and like taking down the network of traffickers. And like Feiho though, You know what I mean? Listen, he goes from like making sure she has all the pastries she wants to then breaking off a dude's horn and stabbing him in the hand with the tip of his own horn for like touching her and being a creep. I am obsessed with Feiho. Feiho forever. He's such a sad, charming boy.
It's so good. I can't believe I didn't recommend that series to you when I first read it. Because I did the same thing. I read it, Using Feiho was not out yet. And so I read everything, and then like Using Feiho came out, and I read it, and I was like, this is...
And the rest of them are so good. Yeah, I read Choosing Theo when that was the only book out. And
damn.
Yeah, and then I forgot to go back.
Choosing Theo is so... I just love a
Choosing Theo is
boy.
So good. Oh, he's so scarred. He's so sad. She's just so ready to mess with him. The whole thing. Listen, Victoria Aveline maybe is my actual lady love, but particularly Using Feiho is such
Victoria
a good
Aveline.
book.
Like,
oh my God.
Please.
Oh my God. Okay. Hey everybody. Keep being a badass and oh fuck.
Love yourself as much as you love consensual kink.
A clit slap and a tit slap.
Yeah.
A clit slap and a tit slap.
That's better. A clit slap and a tit slap.
But also having educated consent. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Well, bye.
Oh my God, I have to pee so badly.